Hello, everyone, and welcome to SkaredCast. I'm Skari, your grateful host, and this is a Meta Monday analysis. Ask me anything, or as we like to call it over on Patreon, Mama. This is the weekly show every Monday night that I do normally exclusive for Patreons. So if you'd like to participate in one of these every single week, make sure you check the Patreon link down below. But it is a crazy time in Warhammer Competitive 40k. And this is the video that I use every week to do two things. Number one, we talk about events that are happening around the globe, pandemic aside. And we talk about lists that are doing in the meta in Warhammer 40,000. So if you want to kind of see what's trending, what's going on, that sort of thing, this is the video for you. It also gives me a chance to answer any Patreon submitted questions. So the Patreons get to ask a bunch of questions, and I get to answer them live on the show on Mondays, which is a complimentary video to the Patreon show I do every Friday called The List Crunch, where I crunch down on Patreon submitted army lists, and I go over that sort of thing live every Friday night over on the Patreon page. Now, I have unlocked the vaults today. That's right, I'm being very animated. And I'll try not to talk too quickly. The live chat is live. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to sort of like make sure that I listen or read, make sure you chat and all that stuff. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, etc. There were a lot of events this weekend starting to ramp up globally, especially in the US. And elephant in the room, my favorite faction, the Drukhari, are it absolutely things left, right, and center. Hence the name of the video, Unstoppable Drukhari. We're going to be going over some of the top events. There were 5 main events, I believe, out of like 9 events or something, where Drukhari won. And there's prominent sort of like representation for the army everywhere. So we're going to look at some of the lists that they went up against. It's going to be in general terms. We're going to talk about my thoughts, what I liked, what I disliked, all that good stuff when it comes to that thing. And then at the end, we're going to go over the Patreon submitted questions, because that's kind of how I do. Now, for all of the stats and stuff like that, I'm going to be using the Best Coast Pairings app, which is something I subscribe to. So thank you very much to Best Coast Pairings for putting something together where we can like read things and whatnot, which is really, really cool. And let me just see if this chat is working. It seems very quiet for a top chat. Live chat. There we go. Is a live chat? Anyway. Hello all. That should work. Also, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. All the newcomers as well. My goodness, you are. Thank you so much for coming by. Nice to see you. Play on Tabletop Crew. Keep on being spun. And it's funny because in the chats I've been in today, we've been chatting about hello Luna, hello AR, hello Tivadar, hello, welcome to one and all, as well as all the Patreons. Hello Tanya, Cody. See, there we go. The chat's lively all of a sudden. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. Let's go to the list here. So there are 5 main events. The first one I'm going to go is going to be called is the Spring Up GT. And I love this thing because you go to global, you go to Warhammer 40,000 system, and you go to spring, and then you basically just search. Boop, spring up. Well, that didn't really help at all. April. Oh, there we go. Spring Up GT. I was like, there's a lot of spring GTs. So I like talking about the top stuff. These are like GTs that are happening. So the Spring Up GT was a 51-person grand tournament. Okay, lots of different representation of armies. It was a 5-round event. There was 1 undefeated player out of 5 rounds. Shout out to Logan Tillman with his Death Guard, who scored 29 and then 4 100s in 3rd place. Who scores 4 100 pointers in a 5-round tournament. Oh my goodness gracious. Dallas is this weekend, the Dallas Open. I will be covering that on the next Meta Monday, as always. Andrew says, yeah, you Meta Monday. Thank you. I know normally I do this only for Patreons, but I thought I'd do it for everybody. So show your support, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it with your friends. Leave a comment. Let me know if you like me to do these videos more for the public or things like that as well. In second and in first place, we had 2 Drukhari armies. We had Ben Sherwin with Drukhari, and we had James Kelling with Drukhari. Congratulations. It's nice to see some fellow Archons taking some names. And then the top 10s varied. We've got Imperium, Custodies, Necrons, Dark Angels, Mechanicus, Orcs, and Salamanders. So still a lot of like Imperium style lists. It's nice to see Orcs out there with the Evil Sons doing decently, out of top 10, which is really, really good. Let's take a look at this top list, shall we? Venue? I have no idea. No idea what the venue is. Okay. So this is his list. It is a Dark Technomancer patrol with Drazar and 3 units of 5 racks with liquefire guns. Now we're going to start seeing that's a pretty common occurrence in most competitive lists. Personally, I don't use Dark Technomancers. Why? Because I like the Dark Creed shenanigans, and I've also sort of been mixing my army down to 2 patrols, which is interesting because this helps me save points. I get more stuff. Anyway, this is more of a standard like meta thing. Then we have 3 grotesque with liquefire guns, 2 raiders with a dark lance, grizzly trophies, phantasm grenade launcher, and they are Cabal raiders, which is interesting because you can put Cabal stuff into detachments that are Coven. They just don't get their obsession, but they still get the keyword, which is a whole other video on mixing and matching and building armies with Dark Eldar, because they basically gave us the keys to the kingdom and they were like, have at it, have fun. And apparently it's amazing, which is awesome. And I'll get to all the chat questions. Thank you so much, chat, for putting up questions. I do have a list of Patreon questions I have to get to in priority. Of course, if you want me to notice your question to super chat or something, the question will come up really, really big. Then we have a Cult of Strife patrol with a Succubus with the Whip, Show Stealer, and a Competitive Edge. Nice. So that's the version of the Competitive Edge Succubus that I think is not going to get toned down, but who knows? Will it get toned down? Who knows? We'll see. Blood Brides, 10 of them. I've said what I think about Blood Brides. I think they're overrated for the current meta because everything bundle will save nowadays, especially in the mirror match. But if you want to pay 2 extra points for witches, sure, be my guest. 5 Mandrakes, then another patrol detachment of Cabal of the Poison Tongue, which, by the way, I'm glad he's using it because that's my favorite. I think it's the more competitive of Blackheart versus Poison Tongue. But that's for a whole other video on which Cabal is the best. But let me know which Cabal you think is the best in the video down below. Do you like the Blackheart rerolls and Vect, or do you like redeployment with Poison Tongue / the Trueborn Poison wounding on 3s? We have a Archon, a Master Archon with a Husk Blade and a Splinter Genius and the Gin Blade. Okay, cool. Then we have 10 Trueborn with a Phantasm, Blast Dark Lance, the signature Trueborn unit. 5 Cabalite Warriors, 5 Cabalite Warriors. Cool. Then we have 5 Incubi, 1 Ravager, 3 more Raiders with Grizzly Trophies and Phantasm Launchers. And a 1 with Splinter Axe, of course, for the Trueborn, which is really useful, and 2 Venoms with Splinter Cannon, double Splinter Cannon, which is very cool, especially when you're running them as Poison Tongue. You can still make Venoms be very, very dangerous. So, 3 patrols, 1 unit of witches, more shooting, right? It's got the racks to do some damage. Overall, a good list. I think it's hard pressed to build a bad Dark Eldar list, in my opinion, right now, at least at this point in time. And Poison Tongue has always been my favorite Cabal, so it's nice to see that you can actually take it to a tournament and do decently with it, right? It's not just me being a lore monger now, is it? Luna says Obsidian Rose. Well, whichever one you think is awesome, leave me a comment down below or in the chat. Which one do you think is your favorite? So congratulations to James. We have a lot of events to go through. Of course, you can always check out BCP if you want to check out which events we're going through. Now we go to the War for the Wooden Spoon. Wooden Spoon. War for the Wooden Spoon. There we go. This happened in, and I should tell you where these happened. This happened in Bartersville, Oklahoma. I think OK is Oklahoma. Cool. So here we have a 36-person GT. So this is a GT as well, large GT. It was 5 rounds. The top 3 were Connor, McCormick, which I've seen that name before in the ITC, Drukhari, Bam Bam with Chaos in second, and Kyle McCord with Imperium in third. Now he's running an Adeptus Mechanicus combined with Astra Militarum combined with Dark Angels. So it's like a full Imperium soup style list in third place. Very nice. And then top 10 has Sisters of Battle as well. Another Sisters of Battle. Just Mechanicus, Necrons, Knights, straight up Knights, Iron Hands, and Chaos Demons. So very, very cool mix. You know, there's actually more Sisters of Battle up there than there are Drukhari, which shows you just how, even if Drukhari are like winning, how varied the field is. Like if you take a list to a tournament right now, you have to be ready to face a variety of different things. And I think it's one of the reasons Dark Eldar is doing so well right now is twofold. One, they can deal with lots of different things. They have few terrible matchups. And two, nobody has been putting anti-Dark Eldar tech in their lists. They've been putting anti-Death Guard, anti-Demons, anti-Space Marine tech, but no Dark Eldar anti-tech, which I think has skewed it in the direction. And I feel like it, you know, with new codexes and stuff, even with codexes like the we've seen already, you know, that have already been released, I feel like people are going to gravitate towards things that kill Dark Eldar, like a chainsword and a bolt pistol, and they're going to leave all their fancy toys at home just to get a bunch of just volume of strength 4 stuff in there, essentially. Eyeballs, says Daniel McGuire. I'm glad you like my Crusade characters. The Crusade series has been an absolute hoot to film, and it's right now we're back in lockdown again here in Ontario for the next 4 weeks, which means no in live battle report filming, which is really it kind of hurts my soul almost. So hopefully soon, because I can't wait to get like John the Cron back on, Primaris Powerhouse Rob, and all the classics coming down playing some fun stuff. So who wants to see the second fancy Drukhari list? Okay, you ready? It's going to be revolutionary. But this is Connor McCormick's list. He actually scored really high, 99, 97, 100, 95, 96. Like he's scoring big numbers with this list. So I hope you have your notepads out. Dark Technomonsters Patrol. Drazar, 3 units of 5 racks with liquefier gun and a sergeant with a liquefier gun. The exact same part of the patrol as the last one. I wonder why. 5 incubi, 5 mandrakes. Then we have another patrol detachment of Cabal of the Black Heart. Okay, so this time we're switching to the Cabal, and it is an Archon that is not a Master Archon. 2 units of 5 Cabaliors with 0 upgrades. 2 more units of 5 incubi. And then 5 Raiders with Dark Lances, Grizzly Trophies, and one of them has a Phantasm Grenade Launcher. Okay. To be honest, I would probably go for like Chains instead. I find Chains are really, really good. AR asks, as a Deathwatch player, more Xenos, more fun. 100%. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Thanks for showing your support. And then we have a patrol detachment of Cult of Strife with the Spectacle of Murder, the name of their obsession, what it's called. It is 1 Succubus, Quicksilver Fighter, so extra attacks, Tolerate Ambition with a Triptych Whip, and that's that. And then we have another succubus with the Razor Flail, Dark Lotus Toxin, and the Competitive Edge. So that's the crazy one. She's the show stealer master succubus. That's the one that I feel is going to get sort of toned down, or they're going to clarify how the Razor Flails work with the extra attacks that missed or whatever, because I don't think it should double and then double again, personally. Wolf, yeah, I agree. Wolf Shark says, I feel if you see one raider with a random upgrade, it's usually to cap out on points. True. So the key is use one that you're probably going to use more of. Like if that phantasm was like a shock prowl, it means that as Cabal Blackheart, you could advance and charge it on that first turn. Say use like enhanced sails or something, get really up in your opponent's face, and then shock prowl something on turn one. You know, at least do something that is going to be like useful more often than not. Blood Brides, 10 of them. 2 units of 5 witches. And then we have 5 mandrakes, and 15 Hellions. I like that. I like this list. It's good. You've got Hellions in there. You have 2 units of 5 mandrakes. You've got 2 units of 5 witches to just go around, do actions, be annoying. 1 unit of Blood Brides. Once again, I think Blood Brides are overrated because they go up to AP4, which is fine. Witches are AP1. You can spend CP to make them AP2, and then they roll 6s, they're AP3. You can give them reroll wounds, so they're getting AP that more often than not. But more often than not, you're fighting against stuff that has an impulse save. Maybe even the mirror match, other Dark Eldar, like more witches, or even Cablite Warriors, or whatever it is. So that AP4 is pointless. It's just as good as AP2 or AP1 even. Anyway, that's my thought process. But other than that, he's got the Mandrakes in there, he's got the Incubi in there, and he's got a bunch of Raiders. So pretty standard stuff when you look at it. There's like you're looking at it, go, that is a Dark Eldar list. But he did really well. Bam Bam, good on him. He lost his first game, then crushed everybody else. And then Kyle with his and he played Chaos. So Chaos in second place with Mortarion and a bunch of Knights, Moriaxes. Oh, Moriaxes make me cry inside. I dislike Moriaxes with a passion. That's a Forge World or a Forge World Imperial Armor Compendium Knight, like a Warglaive one with like some crazy Tesla guns, and they shoot a lot and kill a lot of things. But congratulations to Connor. So, what did you think about that list? Changing Blackheart for Poison Tongue, had in some Hellions. Now, if you took Hellions, would you run a big 15 to 20 strong? Personally, I've been running 10. I think it's easier to hide 10. If you want to have more than that, run 2 of 10. But I also like my Reaver jet bikes. Like, I swear by my Reaver jet bikes. They are so good. But it does give you access to doing mortal wounds in the movement phase. It's great against a variety of different matchups. They're decent damage. They got some shooting. They're fast, and they're infantry, which is saying something in this edition currently as well. So that was the War for the Wooden Spoon GT. And then we have the Motor City Mayhem, which was a one by none other than Brad Chester. Brad Chester had something come up. The Mayhem, right? Brad just had something come up this morning, which he had to deal with. We were going to have a little chat about his list and things like that. And let's go over it. Okay, so first of all, I want to shout out Mr. Sarapata, who ended up, after his loss, ended up in 12th place. But he was literally at the top table facing Brad Chester. And it came down to who went first. And essentially, because he had 6 planes, Adeptus Mechanicus planes, and I've been coaching Michael for a while, and he's been building up this list. He was really excited, and he blew his expectations out of the water. He's at their top table, and the roll for going first, and then he loses like 3 planes in the first turn. So it kind of went downhill from there. But huge shout out to him, even though he ended up in 12th place. Like, he did great, losing just at the end there against Mr. Brad. But in the top 3, we had Brad Chester with Drukhari, we had Daniel Kennedy with Cult Mechanicus, Colin McDade with Harlequins, then we had Chaos with Rex Buckingham, and he was running like some World Eaters, Emperor's Children, and Thousand Suns combination. Cool. And then in 5th place, we had Kyle Parry with Eldari, Jason with Deathwatch, Kevin with Chaos, Drukhari in top 8 with Scott, and we had Sam Dayton with Space Wolves, and Michelle Mack with Sororitas, which is Sisters of Battle. Fantastic, great combination of armies out there. Deathwatch, which I haven't seen up there in a very, very long time. It's Chaos, Eldari, Cult Mechanicus, that sort of stuff. But congratulations to Brad. And I will be going over his list in more detail at some point. Michelle Mack says, "That's me." Hello, Michelle Mack. Thanks for tuning in. And we have you in the chat. Why don't you tell you can type about what your favorite game was and whatnot, that sort of stuff as well. And Tivadar says, "Thank you for the commentary on the stream." Yeah, I did stream the first round of this event, which was really fun. I wish I could have done more, but I had a busy family weekend. Let's quickly go through Brad Chester's list. So we have a patrol detachment with the Cabal of the Poison Tongue, right? Once again, I think it's probably the best for competitive play personally. One Succubus, great way to start a Cabal detachment. However, it is legal. The Succubus can be put in there. They just don't gain their obsession. They get the keyword, but they don't have an obsession. You can mix and match. This is a Cabal detachment with a Succubus in it. So the Succubus doesn't get obsessions, but they can lead a Cabal detachment. Interesting. Does that make you rage? Let me know in the comments down below. Then we have 2 units of 5 Cavalry Warriors, 2 units of 5 Incubi, 5 Scourge with Shredders. Now this goes to your question, Yorgi. Says, can Scourges work? I think they do with Shredders, Brad's using them here. 5 Scourge with 4 Shredders. Great way to they can come down, do actions if you need to, etc. And they threaten little screening units, especially mid-game. You started cracking open some transports, and they're fantastic in the mirror match as well, or against any army that's not like Space Marines, really. Even Necrons and any Xenos army hates Shredders. And the fact that they're 18 inches range now is fantastic. It means you can keep them at range. Maybe the Scourge will survive a turn, and then you can go off and kill other stuff. So it's very, very cool. Michelle says, Brad is no longer allowed to drink while on the streaming tables. Agreed. I heard about that, but that's for a whole other conversation. Then we have 5 raiders that are all Cabal raiders, right? So they can redeploy, and they all have Grizzly trophies, which is a great upgrade. Then we have a patrol detachment of Cult of Strife, because Cult of Strife is the best witch cult right now, in my opinion. You get all the cool strats and stuff from the Book of Rust, makes it incredibly powerful. Succubus with your competitive edge, Toxin, Razor Flails, and Ambition. Then we have 2 units of 10 witches, just standard witches with random drugs. I got them to roll randomly because it's amazing. I'm going to take credit for making everybody roll randomly, because getting 2 bonuses is so much better than 1. Especially if you're a seasoned veteran player, you can roll them and use both of them. If you're new, pick your drug. Pick it, use that one. And then we'll go from there. 2 units of 5 Mandrakes, 10 Hellions. Then we have a 3rd patrol with Dark Techno Monsters with Drazar. 5 racks with double liquefy gun. That's the 3rd out of 3 Dark Tech detachment that we've seen with that loadout. And this one has 5 more Incubi in it. But that seems to be in every list so far, right? So what's the determining factor of if something's a little too good? That you see it everywhere. And so far, it's that detachment. Drazar, 3 units of Rex. There's something in there that must be good, right? Is that how it works? I think so. Hello, Ryan. Hello, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that is the Motor City Mayhem. Congratulations to everybody. But are Drukhari an unstoppable force right now? I don't know. That's 3 events that we've seen where Drukhari are on the top. And you know what? We're going to see a 4th one. We're going to go to the Dead Primarch GT. Dead Primarch GT. Which happened in Hoquiam, Wyoming? Maybe? What's WA in the US abbreviations for states? I don't know. But this was a 32-person GT. Perfect. And it was 5 rounds. So we did have one undefeated player. Washington, says Stephen. Thank you very much. So this was in Washington. So we had Drukhari at the top with Jeremiah. Congratulations with your win. Then we had David with Necrons. Zachary with White Scars. Awesome. So top 3, well done. Then we have Chaos, Custodies, Orcs in 6th place. Custodies again in 7th. Necrons in 8th. Custodies in 9th. And Necrons in 10th. Hold on a second. Am I reading this right? Necrons. So 3 Necrons in the top 10. Custodies. 3 Custodies in the top 10. Orcs, Chaos, White Scars, and Drukhari. That's hilarious. What kind of person comes up to that meta and is like, you know what, we should play the same thing everyone else plays: Necrons and Custodies, and then you have the one random Drukhari player. It's like, I win. So let's take a look at Jeremiah's Drukhari list. By the way, I love the name of your team. Lichter? Ha! Very funny. Okay. Not an appropriate joke for streaming. So we have the Tech Trash GT. Hilarious. It is a patrol detachment of Dark Technomonsters. Hold on. I think Drazar and 3 units of Rax might be in here. Let's see. Drazar, 3 units of Rax. Oh my goodness. Gonna pat myself on the back there. I am so good at this game. Oh my goodness gracious. So then we had a patrol detachment of Cabal Blackheart. So we had 2 big units of Courts of the Archon. This seems to be very similar to the Nick Nadavati style list that he's been running at the Art of War. So make sure you check that out. I am one of the coaches on the Art of War. So if you want coaching for Drukhari, make sure you check out artofwar40k.com. So we have the Slith to Slith, 4 Slith, 4 Orgles in each unit. Cool. We have 2 Archons. One's a master, one's not a master. We have 5 Kabalite Warriors. To be honest, if you take a Master Archon, I feel like you're missing out on the Trueborn. Like, Trueborn are so good. Tanya says, your ego needs its own little chair. Little chair? My ego needs a big chair. Okay? Also, if you are watching live and you haven't already, click the little thumbs up button thingy. 80 some people watching. 15 likes. Let's go. Do it. Do it for me, because you love me. And if it makes you cringe that I called action, click the like button now. There we go. Thank you very much, everybody. You're all amazing. That's how the interaction bot thinks that you like what I'm doing. Let's get over 9,000. So funny. So we have 5 Incubi, 2 units of 5 Scourge with 4 Shredders in each, which, as we said, I think is one of the best way of running Scourge. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Raiders with Grizzlies and Phantasms. Now, is that necessary? After playtesting, I don't think you need that many Phantasms. You do need the Grizzlies, but you don't really need the Phantasms that much. I think you can be more, conservative with the point expenditure when it comes to that sort of thing. However, Blackheart with a bunch of Dark Lances is quite good. Rob says, I like you. Thanks, Rob. Then we have a Cult of Strife patrol with a Succubus with the Precision Blows, the Triptych Whip. Okay, so it's the Mortal Wound one, right? So that's a very popular one. I like her with the Razor Flails. So then she gets 14 hit rolls with the +1 attack combat drug, and every 6 to hit is 2 mortal wounds. In my last game, she ran in and just murdered Mortarion. Did like 8 mortal wounds to Mortarion, and Mortarion was like, and he died. Then he exploded, by the way. Josh and Muffins, hello. Thank you for tuning in. 10 witches, and 14 Hellions. So you don't have the third, but you don't have the you have like the court, which kind of stands in for some of the other stuff that you see in the lists, but they are very, very durable. You have the damage output of the Rax and Drazar, and then of course you have the Witch Cult, just with the witches, and then the Scourge to do shenanigans. Now you don't really have the Incubi in this list. Yeah, so there's no Incubi in this list. And then, well, there's 5 Incubi, so you have 1 unit. But there are no Mandrakes in this list. I would miss the Mandrakes in a competitive sense so much. I love the Mandrakes. They are so much fun. So much fun. But congratulations, Jeremiah, for that win. So 5 for 5. Time to go into the war in the Berg GT. Now, these are not the only events that happened this weekend. Like we've been seeing, we've seen all the different lists that have happened so far. We've seen how varied the top 10 is. So the top 10 is still very varied. And normally it's like a very thin line between someone who wins and somebody who doesn't, based on that one game that they lost or the bad matchup they ran into. I think it's only a matter of time before Drukhari end up finding themselves facing armies that are going to like counter them directly. Like right now in the competitive scene, like at the tactical tortoise style tournaments, the meta has been shifting quite rapidly because you don't really need to wait to buy, build, collect models to shift against the Dark Eldar meta. And we're seeing a ton of Mortifiers and Penitent Engines, which I'll tell you right now is like nightmare scenario for Dark Eldar. Okay, so this is the next one, which is the War in the Berg. The War in the Berg, which happened in Fredericksburg. Fredericksburg, Virginia. There we go. Ha! See, I'm learning. This was a 38-person GT. Testament. I just want to say right now, testament to this event of how well it was run. Every single person finished 5 rounds. Amazing. 0 drops this event. That isn't that, or like maybe I don't know if there was one further up or whatever. No, seems like every single person in this event played all 5 rounds. Excellent. That's awesome. I love to see that. Shout out to the TO. That means that this event was really fun. Oh, never mind. Dark Eldar didn't win this. Blech. So why am I talking about it? Because it's kind of cool. So we had Paul Mcarthur playing in first place. Guess what? With Imperial Knights at a 38-person GT. We're going to go over that list in a second, so stay tuned. Second place, Mark with Cult Mechanicus. Third place, Stephen Henry with Custodies. And then fourth place, Jonas with Drukhari. And then Jeremy Knox, name I've seen before, with Drukhari in 5th place. And then Jason Smith with Drukhari in 6th place. Then Anthony Birdsong with Evil Sons in 7th. Ken Knox in 8th place with Drukhari. Then Larry Oliver with Tyranids in 9th. And Mikhail in 10th with Necrons. So we had Necrons, Tyranids, Drukhari. Evil Sons, Drukhari, Custodies, Mechanicus, Knights. So they might have not won the event, but they had 4 of the top 10 lists. Amazing. I've been playing Dark Eldar for so long, over thick and thin. And anyone who has watched my content knows this. And it's nice to see the Dark Eldar crushing everything. It's so much fun. Daniel says, I love the content, was wondering if an esoteric kill. I'll get to the questions in a second. I have the Patreon questions I have to go through. So thank you so much to all the Patreon supporters. Meta Monday is a chance for me to go through lists and stuff and then answer all the Patreon questions. If you'd like to join the growing Denizen community of over 300 gamers from all over the world, check the link down below. Head on over, join the Discord, be a part of the conversation, all that good stuff, and help me create more content. And I appreciate every single last one of you. Thank you so much. Other than that, we'll get to the other questions. We'll get to the other questions as well. And my phone locked itself. Great fun. Okay, so let's talk about Paul Mcarthur's Imperial Nightlist. Why? Because this is like a rarity, especially in a pool that seems to have been filled with Drukhari. it's nice to see a non-Drukhari list sort of like eke its way up to the top. Rocking a mini Wargamer Dave beard, am I? This is my lockdown beard, okay? And hair. This is crazy lockdown hair. Like, look, it literally, look how like it goes all the way down to my like tip of my nose almost. So we're running a super heavy detachment of Quester Mechanicus House Crest, which, by the way, I think is fantastic. With the new books from Psychic Awakening, the Quester Mechanicus households get quite a few bonuses, and I think they're really good bonuses. But we have 2 Helverins, 2 Warglaves with multi-guns, a Warden with an Iron Strider missile pod, the Gauntlet, and Land Strider, so he moves faster. A Magira, this is a Forge World one from the Imperial Armor Compendium, which has become very popular. It's like a mini Castellan that can use the strats at the cost of like a normal knight. But it's a Magira, which has a Siege Claw and a Twin Rad Cleanser, and is the Knight Seneschal, which is quite good in like the current meta that we're seeing right now. And then another Magira. So we have 2 Magiras with their crazy amount of guns, lots of guns on them. We have the Headsman's Mark on one. We have the Knight Seneschal on the other. We've got the Sanctuary on the third with Land Strider. And then we have 2 Warglaves, 2 Helverins. And that's it. Like, this list was designed to just go and nuke the enemy. You know, normally I see knights sort of like mix with like Adeptus Mechanicus or some Astra Militarum or Scions so that you can take objectives and things like that. And it's very cool to see that a list like that, it's 4 little knights and 3 big knights, is doing work. And there's also no Moriaxes in there, which are the smaller knights that have lots and lots of guns and lots of shots, which is kind of cool to see. So, hey, that's awesome. I love seeing that. It just shows me that it doesn't matter what you're playing. If you have good skill and you get like decent matchups and you play your hardest to get points, you will be able to win a tournament, even with knights. And that's proof right there in the 38-person GT, right? Which is pretty awesome. Damien says, Sup, Skari, the Dark King. That's right. Where's my crown? My Dark Soul crown. Okay, so those are the main things I want to talk about when it comes to the Dark Eldar that we are currently seeing in the meta. We're seeing like a huge prevalence of Dark Eldar. So if you are planning to go to an event, or you are in a local league, or you're playing a little tournament, or in a tactical tortoise pod, or something like that, make sure you think about things that you are going to add into your list to combat sort of like that Dark Eldar menace, right? To be honest, you have to be able to crack open transports that have an invulnerable save, that are toughness 6 or toughness 5 in the case of Venoms. So you need multiple damage, like decently strength weapons. You need to be able to kill the toughness 3 troops inside. So you're looking at bolters and bolt pistols and chainsaws and flamers and things like that. And you need to have a plan to deal in a countercharge move when the Dark Eldar get in your face. You can push out and not get pinned into your zone, because that's the worst thing that can happen to you, is getting pinned into your zone. Okay, so let's dive in to the Patreon submitted questions, because I really want to get through these. So every week I put up a thread and I take questions from the patrons. So we'll take a look at some of them, and sometimes there's a lot of questions, sometimes it's a little quieter. We'll get through them. Now, if you have a question, make sure you leave a question in the chat right now or down below in the comments. I do read every single comment that comes through the channel, good, bad, and ugly, and amazing. So if you want to tell me how much you love me, or how much my voice makes you want to jump off a cliff, then please let me know. Other than that, if you want me to really notice your question, you can always super chat it, and I'll notice your question a lot faster if you're in chat, and it shows your support for the channel as well. Okay, let's do this. So, Andres says, Patreon since 2019. Awesome. Thanks a lot for your ongoing support. So I'd like to ask on the Prophets of Flesh in the new Codex. Where do you see their potential Rax Grotesque Talos? where use them most efficient, like objective holders or to kill and stuff like that. So Prophets of Flesh is really funny. Right now I'm working with Sammy, who's one of like the coaching clients. And he's built a list around some Prophets of Flesh, and mainly a unit of Hemox sites, like a Prophets of Flesh Hemox site unit. And he's gotten a lot of mileage out of this unit. And it's because of the always wound on fours, which is funny because a lot of people sort of like disregard this and said, oh, well, you're going to get shot by bolters or whatever anyway, which need fives to wound no matter what. However, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, like all of a sudden, only getting wounded on fours really helps against like demon princes and characters that are like strength 6 or strength 7, or close combat units like Repentia, right? That are usually strength 6, strength 7, unless they use a stratagem, or even if they use a stratagem for +1 to wound. And it really adds a lot of versatility and survivability to units. Now you can get relatively aggressive with this unit if you've build right, like if you build the army right. There are two ways to do this. One, you put in the grenade, the oh my goodness, what's the name of the grenade? Anyway, the grenade that makes the power from pain chart go one higher for the player turn, because then you can like proc them up to their 4-up invulnerable save of the Hemox sites a lot faster, like a turn faster, especially if they hit something and then you don't want to get murdered back. And secondly, you need the Warlord trait on the Homunculus to bring D3 back every turn. And basically, you can just bring D3 back, bring D3 back. They ignore the first failed save, basically, every single phase, and then you only wound them on fours. The Animus Vitae, thank you very much. Ryan says, Holy Hand Grenade. Yeah, that was a Black Templar one from back in the day. But Nico, yes, the Animus Vitae. So, to be honest, that only wound on 4 pluses has a lot more of an impact than I originally thought when I read it, and has kind of had me thinking, like, even playing against like this dark techno monster fad, right, with liquefier guns to get +1 to wound. Well, they can only wound you on fours, right? Like, it doesn't matter against you. Like, they don't gain any benefit. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Well, for certain things, like so you just don't go to like wounding on threes or whatever, unless there's a homunculus nearby, in which case they would need fives, in which case it does help. Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say there. But yeah, thank you very much for your question. I think holding objectives but mid-board pressure is really useful for them as well. Plus, Prophets of Flesh gives you access to the Vexator Mask, which is still one of the best relics in the game. Having an aura of Fight Last, even if it's a smaller aura than it was before, very, very powerful. Antonic says, hello, Skari. Is this scenario a legit use of the strat Never Stationary? Scenario, a Venom carrying an Archon. So Never Stationary is the Dark Eldar version of Fire and Fade. It's 2 command points. After you shoot, the unit can make a normal move of 7 inches. Moves 16 inches and fires its weapon. The Venom unit now has made its shooting attack, so it can use the strat to normal move 7 inches. Yes. Then the Archon riding inside can fire his pistol or grenade, since the Venom took a normal move, not an advance. 100%. This is one of the ways that you can really get the most out of the Animus Vitae grenade, for example. You can move a Venom 16 inches up the board. You can shoot the Venom, move an extra 7 inches with the Venom, giving you a total of 23 inches of movement. Yep. And then you can chuck the grenade 6 inches. So that grenade has a threat range of 29 inches from that Venom, which then allows you to get that advance and charge on turn 1 if somebody isn't careful with their positioning. So you could potentially build like a meme list with like 36 Reaver jet bikes. I paid 20 points for Reaver jet bikes, just so you know. Other than the tactical tortoise pod, which is like Trevi was very clear on their 10 points. So I was like, well, I'll take advantage of that for sure. Why not? And literally just like move everybody up and then have this dude in the Venom move up and chuck a grenade and then literally have all the jet bikes charge on turn 1. So there's lots of cool things you can do with that, which is really, really fun. And if you ever take it to like an RTT, it'll work like one time. People get wise and then like hide from that Venom with the Archon in it, or they won't put their like infiltrators up because they just don't want you to like get that advance and charge off. But something to keep in mind. But yes, that is a very I use it all the time for that. Like I use it in a raider. I'll move a raider up, shoot the raider, fire and fade the raider, or never stationary the raider up to then get the blasters in range of something, from like my Trueborn, or even like the pistols and the grenade from the witches inside. Like you move the raider, shoot, right? Then normal move the raider up, and now all of a sudden you can lob a grenade or something out of the side of the vehicle into a unit or whatnot. So just something to always keep in mind. But thank you very much for your question. And then we have Matthew Beavis asks, any insight into Eric Forsman using Arcoflagellants in his second place list for the 4W4GT? I haven't seen these before in a competitive list. Folks seem to prefer Death Cult Assassins or Gemini Superior. So Matthew, absolutely, I'll take a look at that. Patreon since 2020. So thank you very much for your ongoing support. Let's take a look at that. You said it's the W4 GT. Well, let's see if we can find it. W4. Is it in here? W4 GT in Wisconsin. Cool. Let's take a look at the placings. This was a 38-person GT, and we had White Scars in first place, Sororitas in second, Orcs in third, Death Guard in fourth, Drukhari in fifth, Tyler Johnson. Then we had Custodies in sixth, World Eaters in seventh, Mechanicus in eighth, Tyranids in ninth, Chaos in 10th. Once again, and then Garrett, Drukhari in 11th. Congratulations to him too. Hugely diverse, as we've been noticing. No matter where you come from, you have to admit the game is the most diverse it has ever been, right? Which is crazy. But let's take a look at Eric Forsman's Sororitas list. So we have a battalion detachment of Bloody Rose with 2 units of 4 Arcoflagellants and an Endurance, so five of them. Canoness, Triumph, 4 units of 5 Battle Sisters and a Magnifier. 5 Repentia, 8 Repentia, 9 Zephyrim, 5 Seraphim with hand flamers, 3 Mortifiers, 2 units of 5 Retributors with 3 Multi-Melters in the Simulacrum, and 3 Rhinos. That's a really good list, by the way. Now, Arcoflagellants are one of those things that really help in the horde matchup, right? Like in this case, Repentia are great. They go in, they nuke something. They go in, they kill something tough. Arcoflagellants have volume of attacks and lots of attacks. And especially when you press the button and use a strat on them and they just go absolutely nuts. Now, this is really, really good in a lot of the situations where you don't want to use Repentia. Sometimes you don't want to have to use Repentia to go kill 10 Kabalite warriors. There's no point. And I think the Arcoflagellants really help in the current meta to go and kill the little chaff units or the little screening units that people want you to commit your Zephyrim or your Repentia into. So it's a great, it's 75 points for 5 of them. So they're cheap, they can go in, and they can clear a screen, right? And so you can have, in this case, the trade battle is a lot more efficient with the Sisters of Battle because you have you can have the Flamers come down and clear a screen from the Zephyrim. You've got the Seraphim coming down and making a miracle charge. You have Repentia, but 2 small units for trades and then 1 big unit to tackle a tough target. And then you have 2 little units of Arcoflagellants that can go in and target that little 5 strong unit on an objective or whatever that you don't really want to send anything big against. Right? I think that's very important. You want to try and make the trade as efficient as possible, and having those Arcoflagellants in there allows the Sisters of Battle player to have a completely a very efficient trade with a chaff unit, right? And then do you kill the Rhino that has a Repentia, or do you shoot into 5 Arcoflagellants that are 75 points? You know what I mean? And then you have to make a choice as the opponent. You don't want to have to go in and kill those Arcoflagellants, but if you don't, they're going to go and kill another one of your little units, right? So that's a great question, and I'm glad you brought that up, Matthew, because it's really cool to see how that's having an impact on the game itself. which is really, really important. Okay, so let's dive into the next questions from the Meta Monday analysis. Okay, where are we? I am Alex asks, when list building, do you take into account the terrain that's going to be at the event? I love running big models like Magnus, but it seems that more often than not, it's near impossible to hide them. Is it still worth taking models with 18 wounds if you cannot hide them? So that's two different questions. Is it worth taking 18 model wounds? I'm going to answer that first. If you are not guaranteed that you can hide them? Well, 50% of the time you'll go first and it doesn't really matter, right? Another 50% of the time you go second and your opponent might shoot at them and they die. So is it worth it if it's part of your battle plan? Yes. Is it worth it currently in the meta? Unless you can guarantee there's a big L that you can hide behind, probably not. Like the Silent King, for example. You know what I mean? Like, he might die. Not that he can't. He's just big, and if you can see him, you can kill him. He can take advantage of more like terrain or whatever. But still, that's one option. The Magnus and Morty and all those, like, if you're going to do that, you sort of are forced to saturate the board with monsters and have like 5 Keepers of Secrets and then Magnus and Morty, and then have like a Monster Mash style list. And in that case, you're oversaturating the table, and that gives you an advantage in terms of durability because you have a lot of saturation for like targets. But if you have one big unit right now, it can be tough to play with. Now, in a team event, I think they're definitely worth it. They can't, because you can sort of not play the 10 Dark Lances, However, in a singles event, you have to think you're going to be playing against your worst matchup at some point. And having that one 500-point unit that's a quarter of your army just sitting out there, and you lose that roll to go first, and then they just kill it, can be terrible. So is it worth it? Not really. Now, the second part of your question, do you take into account the terrain that's going to be at the event? Yes and no. If you really know what the terrain is going to be, then you can definitely make a list to take advantage of the terrain build out 100%. Especially if you know, like, if they're going to be playing specific missions, or if there's different terrain for different missions, you know whether you need transports to hide, or if you can just put a little unit behind a line of sight blocker, or if you need to invest in out of line of sight shooting or things like that. Personally, I don't. I build a list that I think is going to be fun and good, and little spoiler here. Get ready? I hope you're paying attention. Ready? Most of the crazy meta choices I have made are because I own the models, and I don't want to have to build and or paint anything else. So when I was playing like crazy mandrakes in 7th edition, that's because I had them. So a lot of the times I just build a list that's going to be fun to play, and then when I get to the table, I'm experienced enough to make sure I can take advantage of the terrain that's there, even if it seems like there's almost no terrain. I'll find a way to make it work to my advantage. That's just experience talking. But you do have to kind of think about it. If you bring 6 raiders, can you hide 6 raiders? Or do you need to hide 3 raiders or 2 raiders and then have like 4 of them like out there that can just get shot, right? And you have to be aware of that choice that you're making as well. If you are watching live, you can put your questions in the chat, and I will get to them if we have some time. So thank you, Alex, for the question. Waffelhaus says, any good habits to form when you start to make GTs a regular occurrence? So we're talking about GT like attendance there. Number 1, get rest. I think that's the number 1 thing. Get rest, eat, and hydrate effectively, especially if you are seriously considering winning a GT. It is a marathon. You're playing 5-6 rounds. Some like the Dallas one, I think it's going to be 8 rounds. It's 3 games of gaming, which is going to be ridiculous. That's going to be a huge stamina test for a lot of people, and it's going to be like there's a video out there about this, says Tanya. Absolutely. Make sure you check out the video that Tanya's going to link up in the chat right now about this very topic. Right, Tanya? And make sure you check that out. But there's a lot of things, and we talked about it. It's one of the Be Nice Roll Dice episodes. You know, and the other thing I'd say is make sure that you don't change your list, like right before the event. Don't pull a Nick Nanavati and take white scars without testing them at all. No pressure. Yeah, no pressure. Just put the link in the description right here. And by description, I mean chat. And then I'll put it in the description down below when this is no longer a live video. But that's my thought process there. Second question. On one hand, if I get, speaking of, any tips for those who struggle to play a game without skipping a phase, forgetting to shoot a unit, or whatnot? Yes, checklists. Build a checklist for yourself where you can literally just go down the checklist and so shoot every unit, like, move every unit, that sort of thing, and get yourself into the habit of mentally checking. It's one of the things I learned after going to a couple of events and rushing through my movement phase and then forgetting to move a unit, that at that time I didn't need to move. However, me not moving that unit came to affect me 2 turns down the line, because then I didn't have enough movement to get to where I needed to go. If I would have just shuffled them a little bit, even when I didn't need to move them, they would have been in a better position to get me an objective late game. So, something like acknowledge every unit on the table in your movement phase. Just acknowledge the unit, even if you don't remove it. Notice which units you have on the table, which units you have in Deep Strike Reserve, etc. It really helps keep the flow of like what you're doing. So checklists. That's what I would recommend. And now, personally, when in terms of learning, I learned the hard way. So if I forget or mess up, I tend to, when I'm testing for a tournament, I tend to say, I messed up. I need to just suck it up and not go back. If I'm playing a friendly game, it's just, it's a friendly game. So it doesn't really matter, and we tend to just do whatever we want. If you forget, you just go back and do it, like 3 phases later, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. Because it doesn't really matter. Thank you very much for the super chat. Captain Athenos asks, Skari, is that a water glass or an Archon model in your hand? This? That's a Stiegel glass. How many incubi would you say for a competitive list, slowly building my birthday haul? 10 to 15 incubi in 2 to 3 units. I run 10 in 2 units because I like all the other stuff too. But I also run 2 units of mandrakes. So I do 2 units of 5 incubi, 2 units of 5 mandrakes. NYC Tabletop, thank you very much for the super chat as well. It says, Hey, Skari, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien, gracias. What is the best strategy a sister's army can take to win against the new Drukhari? Are you going to ACO? Sadly, I can't really travel right now because the borders are closed. But gracias, hermano. De nada. So this is a battle, I think, adding in something like Arcoflagellants, something that you can like trade into cheaper, like less expensive things. Making your Repentia squad smaller, which is something we've seen a lot of Sisters Battle players do. So you're not investing 8 Repentia into something or 10 Zephyrim. I think the MSU is going to be much more important. Last but not least, Mortifiers. I think Mortifiers are going to be a fantastic way to, like, or Penitent Engines. Mortifiers especially, Mortifiers terrify me. The Heavy Bolters kill Dark Eldar, the Chain Flails murder anything they touch, and I think that's going to be a very important unit as well. Okay. Thank you very much for the super chats. I hope that answers your question. Favlas says, "Oh, please give some input on talking out the end of the game in a tournament setting." Oh, that's a great question. On one hand, if I get demolished in one, I want to go grab a beer. On the other hand, orc player talks out last turn will outscore the one who doesn't. Yeah, this is actually a very touchy subject. Now, normally, when I run a tournament, we run chess clocks, And it's like, if you run out of time, you're just out of time, and you score the points that you scored. There's no like talking it out or anything like that. However, a lot of people do sort of like talk it out, namely not on the first turn. It's more like towards the end of the game, where like it's once you get experience, you can pretty easily tell on the table like what would happen and what isn't. The key here, if your opponent wants to talk it out with you, don't just say yes to every sort of like point that they're going to get. Like, you don't need to say yes to. They say, "Oh, and I would get this, and I would get this, and I'd kill this unit." Like, you think you'll kill that unit? Okay, just quickly roll it out. See if you kill it. You know what I mean? Like, just roll it. Just takes 2 seconds. Roll it out. What would you get? Oh, these 3 things. Okay, roll it. If you kill it, then cool, you get those points. Say they're trying to take away, like, a while we stand, we fight or something. But if you're under no obligation, know this, to talk anything out. If the time ends, you just go, time's up, and that's it. And normally events will have a policy on this, so make sure you check with your TO what the policy is for talking it out. And it is arbitrary at that point. Because if you and I talk it out, we'd be like, so I get 100 and you get a 20, and that's very close to collusion almost, right? Like you could argue that talking it out is collusion. And that's why it's like 2 different sides of the coin. You can definitely, like, I've talked out things, but you can literally see, well, I have bottom of turn. You can't do anything else. I'm just going to move here to get engage, right? I don't physically move the models, right? Just tell I can tell my opponent, I'm going to move out, get engage, and then this is going to do my last scramblers over here, and then I'll kill that unit. Okay, let's roll it out. Yeah, kill that unit. So I will score 15 points for primary. And then I just score my sheet. And then that last turn takes like 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, because you just talk it out. But some people are very passionate in one way, some people are very passionate in the other way. So it's always important to know, number one, you're under no obligation to talk it out. Number two, if there's a policy at your tournament about talking it out, make sure you know what the policy is before you kind of like decide to or agree to it, even, especially if it makes you feel uncomfortable. Like if you're like, I think you're just doing it to get extra points on me. You know what I mean? Like, then I don't want to talk it out, that sort of thing. Cool. So I hope that answers that question. Crafty says, hello, Skari. Hello, Crafty. That's a great crafty name for arts and crafts. With the latest success of the Drukhari, and a lot of people complaining that the codex is way too strong, do you agree with that notion? I've been talking on and off about it this video. I feel that the Dark Eldar Codex is very strong. It plays to the missions really well. The key is, as a Dark Eldar player, I could win with the old Codex. It was possible because we were really good at denying people scoring opportunities with the primary, which is incredibly powerful in this edition. The difference was, back in the day, Dark Eldar couldn't kill anything because he didn't have the volume of dice and they didn't have the AP to kill stuff. Now it's sort of flipped. Not only are we really good at stopping people from scoring, which we were always good at, we can kill things now, which then makes it very hard for our opponents to come back into the game. So are we really good? Yes. Are we OP? No, I don't think so. Especially, like, I'd wait until like Admech comes out, and I could see Admech being like a direct like counter to Drukhari. Just being like, if you run into that Admech player at your tournament, you're screwed. so it's something that I'm going to say time will tell. And once people start putting in cheaper screening options and good countercharge units and smaller units to combat the MSU, and get used to focusing their fire and killing one tank at a time, I think that'll be how you see the Dark Eldar like success rate become more manageable. Is it just that everyone still needs to learn how to deal with it and things will balance out? Yes, that's what I believe. But thank you for your question, Crafty. T. Jones says, how will the rise of Drukhari affect vehicle-heavy lists or knights? On one hand, people might tech for a lot of T3 bodies. On the other hand, people need to kill 5 or more raiders now. Yes, 100%. So I think you're going to see a rise in the use of dedicated transports. More than anything, I think dedicated transports are going to see a huge rise in popularity, because you definitely do not want to have like your units kind of like out there for a bunch of witches or Reaver jet bikes to just come in and charge you. Like, you want to force the Dark Eldar player to crack open your transport to then get to the juicy stuff inside, which is similar to what the Dark Eldar are doing. However, you want to try and dictate the pace of the game. Also, someone like me who's running double Void Raven Bomber, believe me, they are awesome, and we haven't seen them yet coming into the meta, but they are going to be popular, and I love them. If you don't have dedicated transports and that bomber starts nuking your stuff, or the double bomber or even triple bomber, and you go second and you lose a lot of your army to bombs, that is like not a good thing. You need to put them in shells to like hide them, essentially. But to answer that question, it's funny because you need to take like vehicles. However, Dark Lances kill vehicles, so you have to sort of have a combination. And I think maybe having like Sisters of Battle are a great example, because they can have rhinos and they can have like these super Repentia Retributors that come out and have like all the melta-guns long range in the rhinos, and they can kind of get out and target something and move back in. The key is like when to do it and how to trade off, so that you're not like losing models too fast. Another thing is like the return of the autocannon. To be honest, like Dark Eldar are terrified of autocannons. Autocannons are like the best gun to face the Drukhari with. Autocannons everywhere. Just literally just like strength 7, 2 damage is like perfect raider killing material. So you might see Invictor Tactical War Suits again, and a bunch of like, I don't know, stuff with autocannons, like Guard heavy weapon teams. Lol Chaos, thank you very much for the super chat question. Says, hey Skari, how are you? I am fabulous. Thank you very much. With the Modus Drukhari topping, is the Succubus in the Poison Tongue a designer oversight still allowing the Cabal units to benefit from obsessions? So this is an intended army composition choice from the developers themselves, where you can take a detachment and you have to make the detachment Cabal, Coven, or Witch Cult. And then you determine which Cabal, which Coven, which Witch Cult. So whichever units you put in there, like if it's a Cabal detachment, all the Cabal units in that detachment gain the Cabal obsession. However, you can still add in Witch Cult and Coven units into that detachment without it losing the obsessions for the Cabals. The Witch Cult and the Coven units will not get their obsessions. However, you can still build attachments. And the intent is to mix. As I said, they wanted it to be very easy to mix the different facets of Dark Eldar society in your list building, which makes sense from a business perspective. They want you to be able to buy whatever and then play it. It also makes sense if you're like newer to the game. It's it's sort of less confusing at the start, because you'd be like, I have a Succubus, I've got Cabalite Warriors, and I can run a little patrol, right? At the same time, from a competitive perspective, it's fantastic, because you can mix and match and get exactly what you want from every single model, which is like total toolkit, which is what I love. I love the faction because of that, but they've literally like taken my gloves off. They're like, you know what? Take those fancy like Olympic sport gloves off and put on some brass knuckles and just have at it, because these hit harder. I'd be like, but I've been practicing with these boxing gloves. No, brass knuckles. They'll be fine. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, I believe it's very much intended to be the case. Eclipsed asks, the GT I just played has confirmed its colloquial name as Planet Cosmic Lanes. About a third to a half of the terrain on any given board exists on the outer 8 inches of the table. The center of the board having some small L's and scattered terrain. If that's what I can expect to be the terrain layout of future events, what can I do to exploit playing on bowling alley boards? Well, to be honest, Eclipse, play to the mission more than killing or surviving. a lot of the objectives, if you look at, there's this like chart that you can find online that shows you the sort of like density of objectives in all the missions, and most of the objectives are around the edges of the board, even every mission. So if you play to just hold objectives, you'll tend to do better. And then every once in a while there'll be an objective in the middle of the table. The other thing is you could make an army that's so shooty that if you just go first, you could just like blow your opponent off the table, and then take total advantage of the small amount of terrain in the middle of the board. Another thing you could do is sort of appeal to the TO and be like, hey, I noticed like the terrain in the middle of the table is terrible. Are you trying to make it a shooting gallery? You know, because no close combat armies can do well in this kind of table. And then kind of ask them as well. So that is, you know, that's my thought process there, Eclipse. But you know, if you had a picture for reference, I could also kind of give you a reference picture, and then based on what missions you're going to be playing. Diego says, is there any chance to see that Death Watch list? Yep, DM me and I'll send you the Death Watch list. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but I'll just take a picture on BCP and send it to you, Diego Sanchez, as well. So that is the extent of the Patreon questions. So other than the super chats, which of course come up and I can see right away, I'm going to pick some questions probably for another, 5 minutes or so. So if I do miss your question, I'm sorry. Make sure you leave a comment down below. If you haven't already, click the like button. Show the video some love if you'd like to see more of these. This is a Patreon exclusive video I do on Mondays called Meta Monday Ask Me Anything and Analysis, or MAMA, which is the acronym, which is funny. And yeah, we'll kind of go through that as well. Diablo Slay says, I should have taken more pics of my tables. Yeah, if you just take like a pic or whatever, you could send the pictures. That would be really good as well. If anyone wants info on the Death Watch list, says Dead Soul, the player made a post on the Primaris Marine Facebook group today and is replying to comments. Oh, fabulous. If you'd like to link that up, that would be awesome as well. Okay, a couple of questions. Let's kind of skim here if we can see any. Anthony Vanella says, recent Dark Eldar convert patron for a bit, going from New York to Texas for the Dallas Open and taking them. Nice. That's fantastic. Well, I hope you have a fantastic time. Warren says, what's the best update for outload for Scourges? We said Shredders. Good. Cody Cooper says, earlier today, Mr. Nick Nanavati mentioned that a 10% point increase for Drukhari is about right. Thoughts? Yes, 100%. Also, you should be playing your Reaver Jet Bikes at 20 points, you mad people. Unless you're playing in Tactical Tortoise, where he's clearly said they're 10 points. So take advantage of them as much as you can. Get onto the Tactical Tortoise pods and run 36 Reaver Jet Bikes for 360 points. So silly. Oh, my goodness gracious. Can Scourges work? Yep. I'm running Mandrakes instead of Scourge. I think Mandrakes are excellent. The pre-game deploy is amazing, and being able to go back and like going into Deep Strike from the table is really, really strong as well. We all do. Skari is one of the bad guys. Can't say good as he reps Drukhari, but we are all bad guys. We are all bad guys. That's true. Diego says, want to know more about the Death Watch list? Okay, that's the Death Watch list when we're about that time. Send me a message and I'll get to it. I'll find it. Just let me know what tournament it was from, and I'll literally send it directly to you. Hi, Scar. I love the content. I was wondering if an esoteric kill delivered from afar, so that's the Dark Creed stratagem where you could pick a unit to shoot at a character. Does it ignore bodyguard rules? It does not ignore bodyguard rules. It ignores the lookout sir rule, but bodyguard rules, you can't target characters within 3 inches normally of a bodyguard unit. So Slith, Lich Guard, that sort of thing. So lookout sir isn't a thing. You cannot snipe characters out with that stratagem if they're within a a bodyguard aura, essentially. War Magic says, digging the beard. Thank you, thank you. I definitely think Dark Eldar need to be turned down a tad. Don't think it's anything. One thing that's OP, they just get too much stuff for 2K. The stuff dies very fast though if you're not careful. So it's just like it's a fine balance between being strong and then like just not surviving long enough. Chaos War Dogs with the 6s are 2 additional hit weapons that they can overcharge are pretty good into Dark Eldar. Yeah, the Moriaxes. They absolutely murder both transports and people inside. Moriaxes. Yes, they're so good. So good. Let me know what your favorite type of knight is in the comments that you feel would kill Drukhari. Like Armigers would kill Drukhari with their damage 3 autocannons. Those things just nuke raiders dead. Like they're like priority high up there when I play against them. They need to die super fast. All this info on how to counter us, Skari. Now tell us how to counter the counter. Ah, that's funny. I'm playing my Dark Eldar list is designed to beat the Mirror Dark Eldar. So it's got Void Raven bombers. It's got like some cool stuff in there, like Reaver jet bikes and Hellions. It's got all the stuff that I would want to face against another Dark Eldar army. Andrew Stallworth asks, why do you think we saw a lack of Death Guard in the top 10 this week? Because they were slow to get to the battlefield. I honestly think it's because they were there. It's just I feel a lot of Death Guard players are trying too hard to do fancy stuff, or they're still running Mortarion. Mortarion right now, as we talked about, isn't really good in like single play. You need to look at the Terminus Est list with like 100 Poxwalkers. That stuff is filthy. Or they use Death Guard in Chaos lists. So you're seeing a lot of Death Guard being used in Chaos lists, but not like stand-alone lists as well, right? Michelle says put tokens. Yep, use tokens in your games. Really important to like keep track of stuff. I use that all the time, especially on the GT or whatever. I have a little box of tokens and things I use, and it's not only good for you, it's also good for your opponents, so they know what's going on as well. It really helps the game. How to counter sister stuff, since you keep telling them how to counter us. A true Archon, you dare turn our enemies against your competition. That's right, Josh and Muffins. I'm trying to make everybody good against Dark Eldar, so that I am the true Archon in the Dark City, other than Vect, who's sitting right behind me, by the way. Flame Overwatch is a good way to sponge Dark Eldar charge in the late stage of the game, unless they are witches and they could just shut off Overwatch. But yes, that is also very true. Hola, Skari, says Diego. How are assassins right now? Are they a good support to Deathwatch list? Thinking of Vindicator or Eversur. I personally love assassins, and I think the Calidus assassin is still my favorite. Or the Eversur. Eversur or Calidus are my 2 favorite. Eversur, because he'll go in and just nuke everything. He's also the most durable of the assassins, other than the Calexis. And then the Calidus assassin for the command point regeneration thing. Actually, the Calexis might not be bad because the Calexis has the everybody fights last, or like there's a does an aura of like fight last for CP, which could be quite powerful against Drukhari. So something that maybe take a look at. Read the assassins and see which one. Cool thing about assassins is you can pick your favorite, like an Eversur or a Vindicare, and then just before the game starts, you can be like, "Ooh, I want this one instead," and then switch it for CP, and that is so strong. It's very, very strong. So I really, really like assassins. Okay. Let's go. Love Butcher Boys. Many moons ago. Yep. The Blighted Legionnaire says, if Craftworlds get something similar to Drukhari, I will be a happy autarch. I cannot wait to see what our Azuriani cousins get. Double Bomber all the way. So beautiful. Oh, yes. Double Bomber is the way we do it. Captain Athenos says, how would we deal with a robot gunline like Admech? Hide or rush them. 2 choices. If you rush them, you have to kill a bunch of stuff, and then you're not going to have much left. But the key is to stop them from scoring points, kind of like what Bradchester did. Just like stop them from scoring primary points. My head hurts for endless combos. Oh yes, definitely. Arif K says, "Hey Skari, what do you think about Drukhari aircraft models? The models are amazing. I have 3 Razorwing jet fighters and 2 Void Raven bombers, and I think they're gorgeous. They also the Razorwing jet fighters, not so good in game right now. Bombers are amazing. I've been using them a lot, and they are fantastic. Pure Primaris Death Watch list. Yep. Just because bad guy, etc., etc. Been thinking of using the Space Wolf Guard with jump pack unit with 3 combi meltas and melee gear. Figure 3 combi meltas may pop the raider. Nope. 3 melta guns will not, on average, kill a raider. You're hitting twice, you're wounding maybe twice, maybe once, and then they have a 5-up invulnerable save. You're going to need at least 5 melta guns to kill a raider, like almost guaranteed. So yeah, even like retributors, sometimes retributors with 6 multi-melter, so 8 multi-melter shots haven't killed a raider before. So don't expect 1 meltagun or 2 meltaguns to do the damage that you need to see. John Penn says, "Do you think shredders are the only way for Scourge, or any of the other weapons worth taking?" I like heat lances a lot, so maybe heat lances. Although in a real space raid detachment, I'm currently looking at running a real space raid detachment with 30 Scourge, with 4 Dark Lances in each Scourge, with a Cabal of Blackheart Archon, with Writ of the Living Muse, to give them reroll 1s to hit and reroll 1s to wound, because they're core Blades for Hire, which would be awesome. I feel like that would replace the Ravager build. Auto hitting with OG melta guns against units that fly. Yep. Mortera needs warp time. Yes, he does. No more 3 Plaguebush Crawlers in 2K. Nope. Although, if you're playing Death Guard, you should be playing Flesh Mowers. Those things are crazy. Timothy Hale says, "Skari's trying to avoid the nerf bat by helping the other factions." No, I honestly don't. I've been playing Dark Eldar, good or bad. It's just nice that I have tools that are like make me be able to play the game creatively, which is awesome. Jakun says, "Do you think Tau would have a decent matchup against Drukhari, like the list Richard made?" Tau in a tough space. Currently, I haven't had any issues against Tau with Dark Eldar. I don't think so. Then again, if Richard was playing them, then I would definitely take it seriously because it's Richard playing them. But Dark Eldar have the tools to deal with that, even if that list has the tools to deal with the Dark Eldar. So it'd be like who gets the jump on who, essentially. How do I prevent the bombers from nuking my Blightspawn off the table? Put them in a transport. Spiffy Pilgrim, do you value Grotesques as a cheap 3-man backline objective holder, or a 10 racks just better point for point? 5 racks. You don't need more than that. "You skipped my question," said the Dark Lord. "Oh, where's your question, Mr. Dark Lord?" "I did not see your question." Do you want to post it again? And then we'll finish it up, basically. 3 times Scourge with Dark Lance is awesome, says Mikey Brookie. The Dark Lord, please post your question again, and we'll call it an end of the stream. 4 up. Do you think? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Do you think Genius Occult would do decent against Dark Eldar? Yes, I do. Genius Occult, even though they're like not the best at the top, a good Genius Occult player has the tools to make Dark Eldar hate themselves. You've got the biggest thing is those damned blips. Those blips are so annoying. If I am as a Dark Eldar player go first, blips, you can't bomb them. Where are you going to bomb? There's no bombing. They're blips, right? Like you can't physically do damage to blips. And you can't get within 9 inches of them, so you can't really charge them. Like you could move your whole army up or try and flame with liquefy guns or whatever, and then the blips can just move back and stay out of range. Like it's Genius Stealer have some really good tools against Dark Eldar. And any Tyranid list that doesn't have Genius Stealers, Genius Stealer Cult is a Tyranid list I'm not as scared of as if it had Genius Stealer Cult. Plus, I play with Mr. Dustin from the Stutter Scrub podcast, fellow Team Canada member, and he plays Tyranids Genius Cult, and he is a magician with Team Genius Cult and Tyranids. So, just saying, I've seen some good players do some cool stuff with that stuff as well.
Okay, Captain Athena says, thank you for giving us a wonderful inside view of what you give your Patreons. No problem. This was, of course, a little bit longer than normal. We had a lot more questions just for everybody. The amount of events was a lot. It was an hour and a half long. So go back and watch it if you missed some of the parts. If you haven't already, click the like button, subscribe to the content. Don't want to miss some stuff. We're currently still doing the unit by unit section. So where I discuss every unit from the Drukhari book, unit by unit, talk about the lore as well as some of the cool combos with that unit. And I've been doing this, the YouTubing thing, for 10 years. I'm not going anywhere. So if you'd like to support what I do, make sure you check out the Patreon down below. Other than that, you are all amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. Ah, the Dark Kid. Bye, everybody. And that's it. Dark Eldar at the top. Yeah, nobody can beat us. Take that, lieutenants, Space Marine lieutenants. We're gonna kill all of you. Bye, everybody.